Hey, everybody. What's going on? Another music lesson for you guys. Steven is my name. Online music teacher. Been doing it for a long time. You guys should know me at this point. If you don't, means it's your first time here. So welcome. So I got my handy little dandy little pointer here right now, which is actually a back scratcher. Today is going to be maybe a little longer video than the other ones. If we kind of get into the 20-minute range or something like that, it is what it is. But what we're going to go through today is we're going to go through the basics of chord construction. And again, I haven't done too many of these online videos. I've been teaching online through Zoom and been doing in-person lessons for about 10 or 15 years now. So I have a lot of experience doing that. But if you guys can't see something well enough, or you need me to post a screenshot or something like that, you let me know. Open forum in the comments and stuff like that. You can also email me. You can email me at sbakermusic@gmail.com, and I can send you any materials and stuff like that. But if you look up at the chart today, it's a chart. It's got a lot of different information, but as we go through it, it's not going to seem so confusing by the end of the class if I'm doing my job right. But chord construction, okay? This is one of my favorite things to teach about when we're doing music class. It uses some math, and it's pretty logical. So let's go through it. So chord construction. I mean, what's a chord? We've been through this in a couple lessons so far. A chord is any note is more than one note being played at the same time. And all chords have some sort of name. And what is construction? It means we're going to build them. We're going to build them from scratch. Now, if you look over here, you don't have to really memorize this, or even you just need to look at it for examples. These are the three notes that are contained in the example chords that I'm going to show you. But if I just give you the names of three notes and tell you to play them at the same time, that's not really showing you chord construction. That's me doing the constructing and you doing what you're told, okay? And that's not really how I prefer to teach music. I've brought it up in previous lessons that I like to teach by bare minimum multiplication, or if I'm doing my job right, exponentially. In that, I'm going to show you how to create a thing that's going to influence every chord and every song you do going forward, thereby kind of working myself out of a job. You know, there's more to do after I do work myself out of a job, but I like to do it so you become your own teacher pretty quickly. So let's go from the beginning. Chord construction. Now, we've learned in previous classes what a half step is. And at this point, if you're watching this video, you should be pretty comfortable with what a half step is, and that there's 12 of them, that the system we're learning is the chromatic scale, which is 12 notes that are separated by half steps. Sharp means up by half step. Flat means down by a half step. And there are two white keys that do not have sharps. And conversely, I don't know if that's the right word for the situation, but conversely, there's two white notes that do not have flats. There's no C flat or F flat, and there's no B sharp or E sharp. And if you look at the piano, it'll reflect this when you see the two white notes that don't have a black note in between them. So that's just a quick review of our first video of how to get through the chromatic scale. Now, we're going to be constructing three-note chords, which are called triads, okay? And in these triads, there's going to be two types of intervals that make up these chords. Sometimes there's going to be an interval of 4 half steps, and that's called a major third. And I'm still going to do that video on going through all the different intervals and telling you what they are. But in my opinion, again, this might be controversial or unorthodox, but in my opinion, I think it's more useful to learn the number of half steps in the interval than to learn the name of the interval. If the name of the interval helps you associate it with the right number of half steps, then I think that's very useful. But if you just learn the name on its own and don't really think about it like it's a certain number of half steps, you're really going to lose the point about what an interval is in the first place. An interval is a certain number of half steps, okay? And the name is just the name. Now, it means a thing in and of itself, but the true definition of an interval is the number of half steps. Now, we have these two intervals. We have a major third, which is 4 half steps, and a minor third, which is 3 half steps. And every single chord that I show you today is going to be a certain combination of those two intervals, whether it be 4 half steps, then 3 half steps, or 3, then 3, or 4, then 3, or 4, then 4. Now, I'm not going to, just to save energy or to save time, I'm not going to say half steps every single time I talk about this today. I'm going to say the number 4 or the number 3. Okay. And you're just going to have to kind of keep up and realize that I am talking about half steps when I'm saying that. So if you look down at our chart today, and I actually should kind of underline these things to tell you what type of chords these are. So we're going to be going through triads or 3-note chords today. Now, there are 3-note chords that are not called triads. And in a later video on the concept known as scale tones, we're going to talk about 3-note chords that are triads and are not. But, we try to stick to the basics a little bit today. So these basic 3-note chords are called triads, okay? Like a triangle, or the Trinity, TRI, 3-note chords, triads. And in the parentheses to the right of every chord is going to be the abbreviation for that chord. And we're going to close out the lesson today with some thoughts on abbreviations and why there's more than one for every chord. I only use one, but we'll get to that in a second, how the abbreviations work. So the first triad that we're going to cover is called a major triad, okay? C major, G major, A flat major. We'll go through them. So in the parentheses, it says just root note. In that, I'm sure you guys have heard someone say before, hey, I'm playing a C chord, I'm playing a G chord. What they mean by that is a C major chord or a G major chord. Now, the weird thing about major chords is that you don't have to say major. Okay, you can say major, but it goes without saying. If I say a chord that is a root note by itself, then it is a major chord. So sometimes I'm going to I'm going to say C, sometimes I'm going to say C major, and those are the same thing. And usually what I do with my students is I'm going to be very disciplined about saying major every time until they understand this dynamic, and then I'll start to refer to it as just the root note by itself, which means major. So major triads, its abbreviation is just the root note by itself. So to go over here, an example of how it would look on a page is simply just D. If someone says major, if someone says D chord, they mean D major. And if they say D major, they mean that symbol. Even though D is also a name of a note, if we're talking in chords, that is a D major chord. Okay, now to the important stuff, because this is not just chords, this is chord construction. If you look right here, I have an R, and that stands for root note. You're always going to start on a root note, and in this situation, the root note is going to be a D. You go to, and I will say too, I have had students complain before, and I kind of get their point about why are we not looking at a piano right now? Now, you can be looking at a piano if this helps, but what I try to do with my students is I try to get them to do most of this verbally, and the piano will assist them with it. But it's better to just lead with the mind and the terminology. And another reason for this is that this is not necessarily a piano class. You can do this on the guitar. You can do this on any instrument. You can do this with your own voice. It doesn't mean you can play them all at the same time, but you can play a broken chord that makes these intervals. So, this is a music class, not necessarily a piano class. Piano, in my opinion, is the instrument that conveys the 12-note chromatic scale in the most effective and efficient way. But this is a general music class, and when we get to just piano, maybe I'll do another video where we actually create this stuff. But for now, this is kind of just like terminology and understanding how to not visualize it in your mind, but be able to know what the notes are in the chord, regardless of whether you have a piano, because you know the chromatic scale. So think about it. We're starting on the note D right here. That's the root note. And if you look at the examples below, I have not written down the letter R, but it goes without saying you're going to start on a root note. Okay. The formula for a major chord is 4 then 3. Now, earlier in the class, we talked about how there's two different intervals that we're going to use to try to create chords. There's the major third, which is 4 half steps, and there's the minor third, which is 3 half steps. If you look at how to make a major chord, it's a major third, then a minor third, or the way I say it is just 4, then 3. Again, it's, in my opinion, it's better to know the half steps than to know the names of the intervals, but you know both now. That means you're going to start on a D. What note is 4 half steps above D? Let's count. We're on D. D sharp, E, F, F sharp. Okay? F sharp is the note that's 4 above D. Look at the second note in the chord. It's F sharp. Okay? Now, you go from the note that's 4 above D, which is F sharp, and you count up 3 more. What note is 3 above F sharp? Let's do it. We're on F sharp. Okay? G, G sharp, A. Therefore, and so what we did, we started on D, we counted up 4, then we counted up 3, and we created our chord. Therefore, D is the root note because it's called a D chord. F sharp, which is 4 above D, which is our middle note, and then 3 half steps above F sharp is A. D, 4, 3 equals D, F sharp, and A. We're using half step intervals to create our chords, okay? We're using, and this works for every type of chord we're going to do today. There's, I don't know, 100 different types of chords, but the way that you're going to construct them from scratch is going to be the same way if you choose to do it this way. There's other ways to do it, by ear, there's just by sight, there's all kinds of ways to do it, but in my opinion, this is the best way to do it, is to learn it based on their half steps. Now, before we get into these other examples, something very important that it sometimes takes people a second to get their head around, but I'm going to make sure you guys get it here today. This is not the formula for a D major chord. This is the formula for all major chords, and D is one of them. Okay, so a question that I, sometimes, blow, if the kid is 6 or 7, this blows their mind because they think they just learned one chord here. They actually learned 12 different chords. Okay, it doesn't mean they can play them by scratch or by memory right now. That's a different issue. But what I'm saying is no matter the root note that we start on here, if we count up 4, then 3 from it and play those 3 notes, you will have created that root note's major chord. D major, 4, 3 is D, F sharp, A. E flat major, 4, 3 is E flat, G, B flat. E major, 4, 3, E, G sharp, B. I'm not doing this because you have to memorize them or anything, but what you should memorize is the formula for each type of chord. Every time you memorize a formula for a type of chord, this type being major, you have learned how to construct 12 different chords. Okay, that and I don't know if that makes sense. Does to me. If you guys have a question, let me know in the comment section or something like that. But it's pretty profound how I'm showing you how we're learning we're learning exponentially right now. I'm not walking you over to the keyboard and just showing you D sharp, D, F sharp, and A, okay? Because that would just be learning one chord, and we could add another chord and then add another chord. What I'm doing is I'm showing you how to learn by bare minimum multiplication, in that there's 12 different things that I'm showing you right here. There's one type of chord I'm showing you here, but it's actually 12 different chords. Now let's go through the other 3 types, and each chord type is another 12 chords should you choose to construct them across the 12-note chromatic scale. I sure am glad this is a video that you can rewind, and also you can take a screenshot of this, because that's the cool thing about videos, right? You can rewind as many times as you want and view this material until it sinks in. Now I'm going to speed up a little bit because everything I just said about these chords applies to the next chord type. Okay, the next one is called minor, and I have my big R there, and what you're going to have is your root note followed by a small m. Okay, that's how you can tell that it's a minor chord. And if you get over to here, your example is C small m, which means C minor. The chord formula for a minor chord, for every minor chord, is 3 then 4. It's the reverse of a major chord. So if you look at our chart, it's 3 half steps, then 4 half steps, or a minor third, then a major third. Okay, let's prove it. We got a C note. What note is 3 half steps above C? Okay, we're at C, and we got C sharp slash D flat, same note. Up another one is D. Up another one is D sharp slash E flat. C, E flat, which is 3 above C. Then we count up 4 from E flat. Let's do it. We're at E flat. E, F, F sharp slash G flat, G. Okay? Therefore, when we start on C and we count up 3, then 4, our chord is C, E flat, and G. Okay? How many more chords did I just learn? 12. Because all 12 notes, when you apply this minor formula to it, is going to, it's going to work for every root note, okay? I might say that a few more times, but it's very profound and very important that when we learn chord construction, we're learning 12 different things every formula I ever show you, okay? The next one is diminished, and it's got your root note followed by a little degree sign, like a little like circle or something like that. R, insert root note, A flat diminished, G diminished, F diminished, whatever. It's got your root note followed by a degree sign. For example, G diminished. And the formula for diminished is 3 then 3. Minor third, minor third. Okay? If someone says it's 3 then 3 and someone says, no, it's minor third, just realize that neither of you guys are wrong. Okay? But the way I think is better to think is in terms of half steps. So 3 then 3. Let's prove it. We're at a G. 3 half steps above G is a B flat. Okay, you're at G, A flat, A, B flat. Okay, which is the same thing as A sharp, but G, B flat. And then we're at B flat. What note is 3 above B flat? Okay, you're at B flat. Okay, B, C, D flat. Okay, we just created a G diminished chord. Okay, last one is called augmented. Okay, augmented. We have our root note, and then we have a plus sign. And in a second, we're going to get into abbreviations. Some people will tell me that that's the wrong abbreviation. It's the way I learned it. But like I said, at the end of the class, we're going to cover how each chord has several different abbreviations. There's probably ones that I don't know about, but I'm going to show you a few of them, and I'm going to show you which ones I've already showed you which ones I use, and we're going to normalize that for these classes. But if you encounter a different one, we are speaking the same language, but with different symbols, okay? Augmented. Any root note plus sign. That's how to abbreviate it. For example, F plus equals F augmented, okay? 4, 4. 2 major thirds in a row. 4, 4. Let's go through it. We start on an F. What is 4 half steps above F? Okay, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, F, A. Okay, we're at A. Let's count 4 more. We're at A sharp, B, C, C sharp. Therefore, given the formula for an augmented chord, all 12 augmented chords, is F, A, C sharp. When it's an F augmented. I know this was a lot of information today, and again, I'm here for questions. You can email me. You can you can comment down below, and I might answer it. I might make another video to respond to it. But our last thought, just to review before we go to our last thought, we covered 4 different types of triads today. Triads are basic 3-note chords, okay? And the abbreviation is in these parentheses right here. Every one of these formulas is 12 different chords depending on which root note you start on, and it's always going to be a combination of major third or minor third. Major third being 4 half steps, minor third being 3 half steps. Okay, so if you look at the formulas, you basically start on a root note, you count up a certain number of half steps, and you have your middle note. Then you count up the next certain number of half steps. You have your last note in the chord, and you have a 3-note chord that you should be able to play. Now, for one final thought, I was raised in the Detroit area in Michigan, and then I moved to DC for 10 years, and now I live in Tennessee. There are regional things going on with these abbreviations. There's also generational things going on with these abbreviations. When people started, playing folk pop music, I bet you there weren't even chord symbols. And maybe I'm talking about 500, 600, however many hundred years ago. And over time, language changes and it morphs and it modifies. So what I'm showing you guys is the way that I was taught by some very good teachers in Michigan and DC. But I was taught by who I was taught by, and I'm semi-educated by the internet. So I'm just letting you know that the symbols that I'm showing you for these chords and other ones that will come up are the ones that I'm going to use. I'm used to it. They're not incorrect, but I'm going to show you down below that there are other ways that people do express these same chords. So for major, we have the root note. That's the one that I go with. If I want you to play a B flat major, I'm just going to write B flat. But also sometimes people write M-A-J period. It's the same thing as major, all right? Sometimes, and this one's the most rare in my opinion, is they will write a large M, an uppercase M. But just know that if you see a root note by itself when you're talking about chords, an M-A-J period or a uppercase M, these things mean the same thing. They're all going to mean this 4-3 or major third, minor third formula, okay? Minor, the way I do it is a small m, but sometimes you might see like a minus sign or a dash. That's the same thing. It's going to be 3-4, or it might spell out M-I-N or M-I-N period, okay? And then for diminished, in my experience, there's only two symbols for diminished. There's the degree sign that I write, and sometimes there's just D-I-M or D-I-M period. And finally, for augmented, which is 4-4, there's either this plus sign or this AUG period. Now, this is the one that's a little bit weird. I learned augmented as always plus, but in the future, when we get into extensions and different type of like jazz chords, there's going to be this thing called an add chord. Don't have to remember this for today, but I think about 5-6 years ago, I started seeing an add chord. They would have like +9, meaning add 9. That weirded me out because I learned the plus symbol as just augmented, and if you wanted to have an add, like an add to, it would say the words ADD, add, or this letters ADD. Now, I'm still just going to write this plus symbol, but that's the one that I've run into some hot water with when I've opened certain music books and like chord chart websites and stuff like that. But just know that the first ones listed next to the chords are the ones that I'm going to use. We're definitely going to do another video on more complex chords, jazz. We probably will do about 10 or 12 different videos about types of chords. So I'm going to wrap stuff up. Usually, I've said before, I want to keep these videos about 10 to 15 minutes, and I probably could have broken this one up, but I did want to get through all this material. But just a quick review, we're doing chord construction, how to construct chords from scratch. Every single chord construction, whether it be on this board or another one, is going to be a certain number of half steps. All music, all intervals are a certain number of half steps. But the ones that we learned today are triads, basic 3-note chords. Okay, we got major, minor, diminished, and augmented, all of which create 12 chords each. So, and the reason for this is there are 12 different notes. So major, you start on a root note, you count up 4, then 3, and that makes a major chord. Minor, 3-4, that makes a minor chord. Diminished, 3-3, that makes a diminished chord. Augmented, 4-4, that makes a augmented chord. Woo! Long video. Please let me know if there are any questions. You can take a screenshot. You can rewind it as many times as you want. But I think we did a good job today of explaining how to create chords. It's going to come up again with bigger chords. There are chords where the formula is like 4-3-4 or 4-3-4-2. Okay, and we're going to be making bigger chords, but the thing to remember is every single time I give you a chord formula, you will create 12 different chords because that's how many notes there are. So I love you guys. Have a great day. I'm going to be doing 30 music lessons in 30 days. So this one I might wait for like a week or something like that because I realized that during this video there's a lot of different previous episodes that I need to do. So I'm not sure when this will come out. But you guys have a great afternoon. I'll see you when I see you, and share it out, leave a comment, hit the like button, all those good things. We'll try to push this music channel of mine. So take care.